in here. And this potato. More homegrown peas. It's a rather unusual curry. I don't suppose you've had curried beets too often. Hello everybody. I hope you're keeping well. It's lovely sunny weather. Dan's home from work a bit earlier today. He's been working really hard since we came back on Sunday from Scotland and the north. I know I look a bit tired. I've had a very busy week as well, catching up on things, and begin to feel like a washerwoman and chained to my desk, popping out videos and doing Dan's paperwork. Anyway, enough of that. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cheap-as-chips curry. Yes folks, it's Friday night, which in this household is usually curry night. I'm using one of my secret sauces. If you're not sure how I create that, I will link the video at the end of this one, so you can go and have a little watch. And I am going to be using vegetables picked from our own garden, so they cost nought, with a half portion of the secret sauce. So I can tell you I used 2 onions, that's 20p, a can of tomatoes, 45p, that's 65p, a little bit of red pepper, 75p, and a bit of coriander. So we'll call it 85p, which is about 43 pence for a half portion. I also have some frozen okra to use up. Now this was £2.99 for a bag, and it was from Farm Foods. There's about a third of a bag, so that's another £1. And then I'm going to serve it with some white basmati. We get very large bags of basmati, so that works out about 20p. So we have curry probably for 2 of us and some leftover curry, but probably without the rice. Now, one of the things I'm going to use in this is one of our homegrown white heritage beet. And look at that, I pulled this out of the ground yesterday. It was about to bolt. Remember that you can use the beetroot leaves as well on the top, which we're going to do, because it adds a nice bit of greenery. They will wilt down a bit like spinach, so we can add those later on. We also have some of our homegrown new potatoes, so I'm going to give these a scrub, and a few of our lovely little peas. I'm also going to add some of our homegrown cabbage. Look at this, that's the last of the cabbages. Each cabbage was taking us at least a fortnight to get through. It's a monster, look at that. And we probably need a couple of leaves. Even the outer leaves can be used. We'll just chop the bits off that are obviously a bit past it, and they will go in the composter. But quite a bit of this leaf, for example, is still good to use. And we have some homegrown chantenay carrots. We don't have many, but carrot isn't the main root in this curry. It's potatoes and white beetroot, and they will do just fine. This is going to be a beautiful curry, and there might even be enough for 4 people. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to wash the vegetables now and give them a good scrub. I'm not removing the skins. There's lots of nutrients in the skin. I'm just going to chop off the end of this carrot, for example. I'll probably shell the peas. The pea pods can also be used in recipes such as soup. They're very tasty and I'll probably do that. And then we will start to cook the curry up. But the very first thing I'm going to do is to fry the okra in a little bit of ghee. I have some organic ghee for a few minutes. This gets rid of the slimy stuff that you get in okra. You can boil your okra instead if you prefer. I tried that with some of the frozen stuff recently and it wasn't that pleasant. It didn't work terribly well. So I would say fry it. This is the secret sauce, look. I made that last night. It smells really good. Dan says it tastes good as well. He can't help himself. I'm going to slice these later because they won't go in until near the end. I'm picking off the best ones and then these ones, they will go into the composter. So I'll give these a wash and set them aside till later. I'm putting the fried okra in a dish on kitchen paper, and when it's cooled completely, I'll just chop it into bite-sized pieces. I'll just pop a few of these peas. These are really nice young peas. They're so sweet. Most of the pods are okay to use. If you haven't got a composter, I highly recommend it. Nothing in this house goes to waste. Any raw kitchen waste always gets composted. And we've had some beautiful compost this year. Really beautiful. It's well worth the effort, and it'll save you some pennies as well, because a big bag of compost, say 50 litres, will cost you maybe £6 or £7 from the garden centre. So I'm going to shell all the others and I'll see you right back. There we go, look. I suppose you could call those actually petit pois, which is very posh indeed. I've stored the empty pods in the refrigerator in some kitchen paper, and I'll be using those within the next day or two in a nice tasty soup. This is how much grease has come off the okra. I'm going to chop it now into smaller pieces. It's quite tender. It won't need much cooking. The first thing to do is to cook the root vegetables because they take the longest. I'm going to prep this morning, and then this evening when Dan gets home we can just reheat it and boil the rice. It gives the whole afternoon then as well for it to marinate, so it should be extra flavourful. I'm putting this back into the dish. Now you may be wondering why I have separated the vegetables into different dishes. This is because they all need to be added at different stages, and it's easier to keep things separate, therefore, rather than to put everything together. Now it's time to do the curry itself. So I'm melting a tablespoon of ghee over medium heat, and to that I will be adding a teaspoon of garlic paste and 2 crushed garlic cloves. And give that a stir around for about a minute or so. There's enough chilli heat in. I'm going to eyeball about a teaspoon of hot Madras curry powder and about half a teaspoon of garam masala. Give that a stir round. You don't want the spices to burn, so I haven't got the heat on high. And now I'm going to add the root veggies and a splash of water. I want all those root veggies covered in the curry spices. Now Bhuna literally is the style, so with a Bhuna, the stirring motion, you do this for 5 minutes, and then as it cooks, periodically you go back and stir it for 5 minutes. And once you've added the curry sauce, after a few minutes you stir it round for 5 minutes, and then you leave it to simmer, and then you give it another stirring for 5 minutes. This is the Bhuna. The Bhuna is the process. Now I'm going to add half this quantity of curry-based sauce. The rest I will put in a sauce pouch to use another time. I'll pop it in the freezer. It freezes really well. You can freeze it for maybe up to about 3 months. Now I didn't even need to buy the chilli because last year we grew some bird-eye chilli plants, and I harvested the chilies, and they are also in a freezable container, and I've been using them up gradually. You've got about 3 ladlefuls there of the secret sauce. That will be enough. I'm going to add probably a dash of liquid, maybe 100 ml or so, and leave that to simmer, and then I'll stir around, and then I'll add the cabbage after another 5 minutes. If you need a little more liquid at this stage, add another 100 millilitres. Keep that nice, thick, rich sauce. The cabbage is bubbling away, it looks al dente, so I'm going to add the okra. Again, probably a couple of minutes for this because it's already been fried off and is quite tender. But just to allow it to finish cooking and allow all the flavours to meld. Again, we're doing the Bhuna. It won't be for as long this time because the goodies are soon coming off the stove until later. You've got lots of different flavours and textures here though. You can chop your cabbage more finely than I have if you like. I've done mine in ribbons. I think it looks really nice on the plate, but you do whatever you like. The stalks are quite thick, so I need to make sure it has enough time cooking at this stage. Obviously, peas have protein in. I don't have many peas. If you wanted to add extra protein, you could maybe add a little coconut milk, especially if the curry is a little bit hot and you need to tone it down, or you could add ground almonds. You could even present it with some chopped nuts or seeds on top if you liked. Whatever floats your boat. We've had plenty of protein for lunch, so we're not too worried. But normally I would add something, maybe a few chickpeas or something like that. I'm adding these young peas and I'll just Bhuna those round for a minute or so, and then off the heat it comes. And then we can think about wilting off those beetroot leaves. It's a lovely thick sauce, it's almost perfect. I'm very happy with that. This is my favourite way of doing things. I'm just steeping the leaves in some hot water and do my best to keep the nutrients in, and then I will drain the water off and chop the beetroot leaves and set them aside until later. I'm going to think about putting the curry on in a few minutes. These are the beetroot leaves that are wilted down. I've given them a good squeeze out of water. I've kept the beetroot leaf water and added it to the curry pan because, as suspected, there wasn't much gravy once it had cooled down, it had evaporated. So I've just chopped this up finely. This is going in near the end, but for now I will think about rinsing the rice and putting that on. I'll see you back once I put the curry pan back on the heat. I'm doing some basmati rice with turmeric. Now I do mine the same way as my friend Aisha used to, and that's rinsing the basmati rice, and instead of using 1.5 cups of water by the absorption method, because basmati is a bit more absorbent, it doesn't need as much as your normal long grain, which would be 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. I usually put quite a lot of water in the pan, and then once it boils for a minute or two, it's usually ready, like it is now, and then I rinse it out through a sieve so it goes back in the pan with the lid on, no heat, and it just sits there until it's steamed off, and then it should be nice and fluffy. And then in the meantime I have put the Bhuna on a low heat. The vegetables are tender, and I'm going to Bhuna this for a few minutes, and then shortly before serving I'll pop the chopped beetroot leaves in. Ready now, so I'm just going to add these chopped beetroot leaves. These just like spinach. You can use spinach if you want, or you could use Swiss chard if you prefer, or ruby chard, or you could add some baby broad beans. I had a curry like that once at the Eastern Eye in Lichfield. It was a really good curry house, and they did a gorgeous veggie bhuna with baby broad beans. It was delicious, and it used to be served in a big deep salad plate, and you would get your rice or your naan bread on the side. I just used to sit there with my spoon eating it like soup. It was gorgeous. This is barely 1 cup of rice and it's made loads. I reckon there's another portion that you could take to your mum's next week, darling.
Oh yeah.
And then she doesn't have to bother getting a ready one for you. You can just take what I've done. So we'll box that up later. There's beetroot in here, and there's potato, or homegrown peas. It's a rather unusual curry. I don't suppose you've had curried beets too often. And to finish, some coriander. Coriander is especially good for blood pressure. It helps to reduce blood pressure.
Let's have a taste. Yumbo. That's really nice. Nice kick to it. The rice is nice and fluffy too.
What are the vegetables like?
Nice and tender. Perfectly cooked.
Have you tried the beet? I'd like to know what that's like, curried. It's the first time I've done curried beet. It's something unusual. It's the white bits, it's the sort of...
These.
Yes.
It's come out really nice.
So you would eat curried beet again?
It's gorgeous.
What mark will you give me for that?
Oh, easy 11.
You really like that?
I do, yeah.
Oh.
Local Indian restaurant could learn a few things from you.
Oh, that's lovely, babe. Thanks for that. Enjoy.
I will do.
So there we are. That looks to be another successful meal. It's certainly a novel way of using beetroot. I don't know whether that's been done very much in a curry. Please comment. I just thought it would be something a little bit different, and it hasn't cost anything. There's enough for another portion, and at £1.93, that is a jolly good scoff. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Until then, bon appetit.